Rain hammered the concrete like 1,000 fists, while spotlights blazed against the high museum's marble face 6 floors above. Down in the parking garage beneath all that polished glory, Evelina Voss hung from a support column with plastic zip ties slicing into her wrists so deep she couldn't feel her fingers anymore. Blood dripped from her split eyebrow onto designer heels she'd worn to please a man who'd just beaten her unconscious for trying to leave. That man, Grant Holloway, Atlanta's golden boy attorney, the face on every billboard promising to protect abused women, was upstairs right now accepting an award for saving lives while his fiancée bled out in the basement. Then footsteps echoed through the shadows. Slow, deliberate. A tall figure in black wool emerged like he owned the darkness itself. Roman Castell, the name Atlanta's underworld whispered with fear, stopped 3 feet away and looked at her once. Just once. And in that single glance, he understood everything. The careful placement of bruises, the zip ties, the way she'd stopped screaming because screaming only made it worse. Without a word, he cut her free. And the moment Grant Holloway laid hands on this woman, he'd unknowingly started a war with the most dangerous man in Georgia. If you want to see how this story ends, drop a like right now and comment what city you're watching from. I want to know how far this reaches, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around for every second of what happens next. Gunchatik. The night Evelina met Grant Holloway, she wore a burgundy dress borrowed from her roommate and anxiety like a second skin. 11 months ago. A survivor advocacy fundraiser at the Four Seasons downtown. She'd gone because her social work professor at Emory had insisted, networking opportunity, Evelina, you need to start building connections. And she'd spent the first hour hovering near the dessert table wishing she'd stayed home. Then Grant crossed the ballroom toward her with a champagne flute in one hand and a smile that could have melted steel. You look like you're planning an escape route, he said. Evelina, startled, nearly dropped her plate. That obvious? Only to someone who spends half his life reading body language in courtrooms. He extended his hand. Grant Holloway. She knew the name. Everyone in Atlanta knew the name. His face stared down from billboards all over the city. Every voice matters. Beside photographs of him standing with survivors, his arm around their shoulders like a shield. He specialized in domestic violence cases. Won more restraining orders and custody battles than any attorney in the state. The local news called him a hero. Evelina shook his hand and felt the warmth of his palm, the confidence in his grip. Evelina Voss, she said quietly. Beautiful name. His eyes never left hers. Not in the predatory way she'd learned to recognize from bad dates and uncomfortable subway rides. This felt different, like genuine interest, like she mattered. What brings you here tonight? She hesitated, then figured honesty couldn't hurt. My professor thinks I need to network. I'm finishing my MSW at Emory. Social work. So you're one of the good ones. Grant's smile softened into something that looked almost vulnerable. We need more people like you. The system chews up idealists and spits them out bitter. You don't seem bitter. That's because I refuse to let the bastards win. He said it lightly, but something flickered behind his eyes, something dark and tired. Tell me, Evelina, when you graduate, what kind of work do you want to do? And just like that, they talked for an hour. He listened, really listened, asked follow-up questions, remembered details she'd mentioned 5 minutes earlier. When she talked about wanting to help women trapped in abusive relationships, his expression shifted into something raw and pained. My sister, he said quietly. She died 7 years ago. Her husband, he stopped, swallowed. I couldn't save her, so now I save everyone else. Evelina's chest tightened. I'm so sorry. Don't be. Just promise me you'll keep fighting for them, for women like her. He met her gaze, and the intensity there nearly knocked her backward. The world needs more people who give a damn. 3 weeks later, he texted asking if she wanted coffee. 6 weeks later, they were dating. And Evelina Voss, graduate student, future social worker, woman who prided herself on recognizing red flags, never saw the trap closing around her throat until she couldn't breathe anymore. The first crack appeared so small she almost missed it. 4 months into the relationship, Grant invited her to a charity gala, black tie, Georgia's elite. the kind of event she'd only seen in movies. He bought her a dress, silver silk that cost more than her rent. When she protested, he'd kissed her forehead and whispered, "Let me take care of you." She wore the dress. At the gala, Grant kept his hand on the small of her back, guiding her through crowds like she might get lost without him. Introduced her to judges, politicians, wealthy donors, made her feel important, special, like she belonged in his world. Then a woman approached them near the bar, mid-30s, blonde, expensive jewelry. She looked at Grant with an expression Evelina couldn't quite read, something between familiarity and discomfort. "Grant," the woman said carefully, "I didn't expect to see you here." Grant's hand tightened on Evelina's back, just slightly. "Rebecca, this is a surprise." The woman, Rebecca, glanced at Evelina, then back at Grant. "I heard you were seeing someone new. Didn't realize—" She stopped, smiled tightly. "It's good to see you doing well." "You too." Grant's voice had gone flat, cold. "Excuse us." He steered Evelina away before she could say anything. "Who was that?" Evelina asked once they were across the room. "A former client." Grant's jaw tightened. "She has boundary issues." "Seemed like she knew you pretty well." Grant stopped walking, turned to face her. Something dangerous flickered across his expression, there and gone so fast she almost thought she'd imagined it. "Are you questioning me?" he asked quietly. Evelina blinked. "What? No, because it sounds like you're questioning me." His hand slid from her back to her wrist, not hard enough to hurt, just firm enough to notice. "After everything I've done for you, the dress, the introductions, bringing you into my world." Her pulse kicked up. "Grant, I know." He released her wrist and smiled, the warmth flooding back into his face like someone had flipped a switch. "I'm sorry, long day, too much champagne." He kissed her temple. "Forgive me?" Evelina nodded because she didn't know what else to do. And she told herself it was nothing, just stress. Everyone had bad days. The isolation started so gradually she didn't notice until it was too late. Grant worried about her walking home alone after late classes, insisted on picking her up. Then he worried about her roommate. "She parties too much, Evelina. What if something happens to you?" And suggested she move into his Buckhead penthouse. Temporarily. Just until she felt safer. She moved in after 6 months. Her roommate texted twice asking if everything was okay. Evelina replied that she was fine. Great, actually. The texts stopped. Grant worried about her finances, student loans piling up, part-time job at the campus library barely covering expenses. He opened a joint checking account. "Let me help. You shouldn't have to stress about money while finishing your degree," and deposited $5,000. Evelina cried from relief. Then Grant started reviewing her purchases. $200 at Target? He frowned at the bank statement. "What did you buy?" "Just stuff. Toiletries, groceries, some new clothes." "Clothes." His voice went sharp. "You have a closet full of clothes." "Nothing that fits right anymore. You need to ask me before spending that much money, Evelina." He said it calmly, reasonably, like he was explaining something obvious to a child. "This is a joint account. We make decisions together." After that, he controlled every purchase, reviewed every receipt, questioned every transaction. And when Emory suspended her from the MSW program 3 weeks before graduation, anonymous reports claiming she'd had a breakdown, threatened a professor, showed signs of severe mental instability, Grant held her while she sobbed into his shoulder. "I didn't do any of that," she choked out. "I swear, I didn't." "I know." He stroked her hair. "Someone's targeting you, probably jealous. We'll fight this. I'll call the dean myself." He never called the dean. Instead, he suggested she take a break from school, focus on healing, on them. Evelina's friends stopped texting after the suspension. Her calls went unanswered. When she finally reached her former roommate, the conversation lasted 30 seconds. "You threatened Professor Carver," the roommate said flatly. "Multiple witnesses heard you. That's not true. Everyone's worried about you, Evelina. You need help." The line went dead. Evelina stared at her phone, ice flooding her veins. She hadn't threatened anyone, she hadn't had a breakdown, But suddenly, the entire world believed she had. The first time Grant hit her, he cried afterward. 8 months into the relationship, late November, rain hammering the penthouse windows. She'd made the mistake of checking her phone during dinner, a text from an old classmate asking how she was doing, and Grant had gone silent. "Who's that?" he asked quietly. "Just Mara, from Emory." Mara. He set down his fork. "The one who told you I was controlling." "She never said—" "Don't lie to me." Evelina's throat closed. "Grant." He stood up so fast his chair crashed backward. "You think I don't know? You think I don't see you pulling away from me?" His voice cracked. "After everything I've sacrificed for you, everything I've given you, I'm not pulling away." "Then why are you texting other people?" He grabbed her phone off the table. "What are you telling them about me?" "Nothing, I swear." He threw the phone against the wall. Evelina flinched. Grant moved fast, crossed the space between them and grabbed her shoulders, fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. "I have given you everything," he hissed, "and this is how you repay me? Please." His hand caught her across the face, not a slap, a punch. Evelina's head snapped sideways. Pain exploded through her cheekbone. She stumbled backward into the kitchen counter, tasting copper. Grant froze, stared at his hand like it belonged to someone else. Then he dropped to his knees and started sobbing. "God, Evelina, I'm so sorry." He crawled toward her, grabbed her legs. "Please, please forgive me. I don't know what happened. I love you so much it terrifies me. The thought of losing you." Evelina stood there shaking, silent. Grant looked up at her with tears streaming down his face. "It'll never happen again. I swear. I'll get help. I'll do therapy. Whatever you need, just don't leave me. Please, don't leave me." And because Evelina had spent 2 years studying trauma bonding and abuse cycles and psychological manipulation, because she should have known better, she helped him off the floor. She told herself it was a one-time thing. Stress from work, his sister's death anniversary coming up. Everyone makes mistakes. The bruise on her cheek faded in a week. The second punch came 2 weeks later, then a third, then he stopped apologizing. Miss, Grant installed security cameras throughout the penthouse. "For your safety," he explained. "Atlanta's dangerous. I need to know you're protected." The cameras watched her in the kitchen, the living room, the hallway outside the bedroom. She couldn't move without him knowing. He monitored her phone, read her text, listened to her calls, chose her clothing every morning, wear the blue dress, the black one makes you look like you're trying too hard, and inspected her before she left the apartment. If she wore the wrong lipstick, he made her wash it off. If she spoke to another man, he interrogated her for hours. And when she resisted, when she tried to push back, his hands found her throat. The first time he choked her, Evelina thought she was going to die. They were arguing about dinner. She'd wanted Chinese takeout. He'd wanted Italian, something so stupid, so insignificant. And suddenly he had her pinned against the refrigerator with his fingers crushing her windpipe. "You don't get to tell me no," he whispered against her ear while she clawed at his hands. "You don't get to decide anything anymore. Do you understand?" She couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. Black spots crowded her vision. Finally, he released her. Evelina collapsed on the kitchen floor, gasping and retching. Grant stepped over her body and ordered Italian. "It's sight." She tried to leave twice. The first time, she made it to the front door. Grant caught her by the hair and dragged her backward so hard she screamed, threw her into the bedroom, locked the door from the outside. She stayed there for 2 days. No food, no water, just silence and darkness and the slow realization that she'd been stupid to think escape was possible. The second time, she called a domestic violence hotline from a burner phone she'd bought with cash stolen from Grant's wallet. "My name is Evelina Voss," she whispered into the phone, locked inside the penthouse bathroom. "I need help. He's going to kill me." The hotline volunteer connected her with a shelter, gave her an address, promised safety. Evelina packed a bag, waited until Grant left for court, walked out the front door with her heart pounding so hard she thought it might explode. She made it 3 blocks. Then Grant's car pulled up beside her. He didn't say anything, just unlocked the passenger door and stared at her through the window. Evelina knew what would happen if she ran. She got in the car. That night, Grant beat her so badly she couldn't walk for a week, and then he showed her the documents. Employment records placing her inside his law firm as a paralegal for the past 6 months. She'd never worked there, never set foot in the building. Psychiatric evaluations diagnosing her with borderline personality disorder, schizophrenia, violent tendencies, signed by doctors she'd never met. Commitment papers, ready to file. One signature away from having her institutionalized indefinitely. Grant spread the papers across the dining table like playing cards. "You don't exist without me," he said quietly. "You understand that, right? Your university expelled you. Your friends abandoned you. Your family stopped calling months ago." Evelina's hand shook. "What did you do?" "I protected you," he smiled. "From yourself, from the world, from everyone who would have destroyed you if I hadn't stepped in." He tapped the commitment papers. "These keep you safe. One phone call, and you disappear into a facility where no one will ever find you. Is that what you want?" "No." "Then stop trying to leave." His voice hardened. "Because if you run again, I will bury you so deep they'll forget you ever existed." Evelina believed him, so she stopped trying. It passait. The gala night started like a performance. Grant wanted her beside him, his beautiful fiancée. He'd proposed 3 weeks earlier with a diamond she hadn't wanted, sliding it onto her finger while his hand gripped her wrist too tight, on his arm while he accepted the Advocate of the Year award. She wore the dress he'd chosen, black silk, diamonds at her throat that felt like a collar. Grant inspected her before they left, adjusted her necklace, smoothed her hair, told her she looked perfect. "Smile tonight," he instructed, "and don't embarrass me." They arrived at the High Museum surrounded by cameras and reporters. Grant waved, shook hands, played the hero while Evelina stood beside him and tried not to scream. Inside the gala, governors mingled with judges. Politicians posed for photographs. Champagne flowed like water. Everyone wanted to talk to Grant Holloway, Atlanta's golden protector, the man who saved broken women from monsters. Evelina excused herself to the restroom. Grant grabbed her elbow. "Where are you going?" "Bathroom." "Be quick." His grip tightened. "And don't talk to anyone." She nodded. In the restroom, Evelina locked herself in a stall and pressed her forehead against the cool metal door. Her hands shook. Her breath came too fast. The walls pressed in from all sides. She couldn't do this anymore. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't survive. When she finally emerged, Grant was waiting outside the restroom door. "You took too long," he said quietly. "I'm sorry." "Come with me." He grabbed her wrist and pulled her toward the elevators. "Now." Panic spiked through her chest. "Grant, people are watching." "I said now." The elevator descended to the parking garage in silence. Grant's grip never loosened. When the doors opened, he dragged her into the concrete cavern beneath the museum. Empty cars, flickering lights, shadows everywhere. Grant shoved her against a support column. "You think I don't know what you're doing?" he hissed. "Playing the victim? Making me look bad." "I wasn't." His fist caught her in the stomach. Evelina doubled over, gasping. "You ungrateful bitch!" He grabbed her hair, yanked her head back. "After everything I've done for you, everything I've sacrificed." He hit her again and again and again. Evelina stopped fighting after the first few blows. She'd learned months ago that resistance only made it worse. So she went limp. Let him break her. Waited for it to end. Finally, Grant stepped back, breathing hard. Evelina slumped against the column, tasting blood. He pulled zip ties from his pocket, secured her wrists behind the column so tight the plastic cut into her skin. "Stay here," he ordered. "I have a speech to give." Then he walked away, left her bleeding in the darkness, went upstairs to accept an award for protecting women. Time stopped meaning anything. Evelina hung from the column with her shoulders screaming and blood dripping onto concrete. Above her, applause thundered through the building. Grant was on stage, delivering his speech, being worshipped. She'd stopped crying, stopped hoping, just breathed through the pain and waited for whatever came next. Then footsteps echoed through the garage, slow, measured. Evelina's head snapped up. A man emerged from the shadows, tall, maybe 6'3", broad shoulders beneath a black wool coat, dark hair, sharp features. He moved like a predator, each step deliberate and controlled. He stopped 3 feet away and stared at her. Evelina tried to speak, but her split lip wouldn't cooperate. Blood bubbled between her teeth. The man's gaze traveled across her face. The bruises, the zip ties, the careful placement of every wound. And something in his expression went absolutely cold. "Who did this?" His voice was quiet, lethal. Evelina swallowed. "You should leave." "Who did this?" "It doesn't matter. It matters." He stepped closer. "Tell me his name." She didn't know why she answered. Maybe because she had nothing left to lose. Maybe because something in his eyes promised that names had consequences. "Grant Holloway," she whispered. Recognition flickered across the man's face. Then something darker, something that made Evelina's pulse kick despite the pain flooding her system. He pulled a knife from inside his coat. Evelina flinched backward, but he didn't move toward her, just crouched down and cut through the zip ties in one clean motion. Her arms dropped. Agony shot through her shoulders. The man caught her before she hit the ground. "Easy," he murmured. "You're safe now." Evelina stared up at him through blurred vision. "Who are you?" "Roman Castell." The name hit her like cold water. Everyone in Atlanta knew that name. Shipping ports, underground networks, vanished enemies. Roman Castell ruled the city's criminal underworld with surgical precision, the kind of man you didn't cross unless you wanted to disappear. "Why are you helping me?" she whispered. Roman's jaw tightened. Because Grant Holloway just made the worst mistake of his life. He lifted her carefully, one arm beneath her knees, the other supporting her back, and carried her toward the garage exit. Above them, applause erupted through the museum. Grant Holloway had just accepted his award, and 6 floors below, Roman Castell carried his broken fiancée into the night, while something dark and final settled behind his eyes. Roman's car smelled like leather and something darker, gunpowder maybe, or just the residue of violence that clung to men like him. Evelina sat in the passenger seat with her arms wrapped around her ribs, every breath a knife between her bones. Blood had dried on her chin, her wrists burned where the zip ties had cut through skin. Roman drove in silence through Atlanta's empty streets, rain streaking the windshield like tears the city was crying for her. She kept waiting for him to speak, to ask questions, to demand explanations. He didn't, just drove with both hands on the wheel and his jaw set like granite. Finally, Evelina broke. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere he can't reach you." "He'll find me." Her voice cracked. "He always finds me." Roman's knuckles went white against the steering wheel. "Not this time." "You don't understand. I understand perfectly." He took a corner too fast, tires hissing on wet asphalt. "Grant Holloway is a dead man walking. He just doesn't know it yet." Something in his tone made Evelina's stomach drop. Not fear. Something colder. Like she'd just watched a door slam shut on Grant's future and there was no key to open it again. "I don't want him dead," she whispered. Roman glanced at her. "What do you want?" "I want—" She stopped, swallowed against the copper taste flooding her mouth. "I want to disappear. I want to stop existing in his world." "You will." Roman turned onto a tree-lined street in Inman Park. Old money, historic homes, the kind of neighborhood where people minded their business because they all had secrets worth protecting. "But first you're going to tell me everything." The car pulled through iron gates that closed behind them with a finality that felt like a coffin lid dropping. Roman's estate sat back from the road, brick and stone, surrounded by tall hedges and security cameras that tracked their approach. Guards materialized from the shadows. Armed, silent. They nodded at Roman and melted back into the darkness. Evelina's pulse hammered. "What is this place?" "Home." Roman killed the engine. "No one gets in without my permission. That includes Grant Holloway and every judge, politician, and cop he's bought over the years." "He'll come for me." "Let him try." Roman got out of the car, circled around, and opened her door. "Can you walk?" Evelina tried to stand. Her legs buckled immediately. Roman caught her before she hit the ground, second time tonight, and lifted her like she weighed nothing. She should have protested, should have insisted she could walk. But her body had stopped listening to her brain hours ago, so she just let him carry her up the stone steps into a house that smelled like old wood and money. Inside, a woman appeared, late 50s, steel gray hair pulled back tight. She took one look at Evelina and her expression went carefully blank. "Medical kit," Roman said. "And call Dr. Reyes. Tell him I need him here in 20 minutes." The woman nodded and disappeared. Roman carried Evelina through a maze of hallways into a bedroom that looked like something from a magazine. Four-poster bed, floor-to-ceiling windows, cream-colored walls. He set her down on the bed carefully, like she might shatter. "Don't move," he ordered. Then he left. Evelina sat there shaking. Rain hammered the windows. Her reflection stared back at her from the dark glass, a ghost with hollow eyes and blood-streaked skin. She didn't recognize the woman looking back. Roman returned with the medical kit and a glass of water. "Drink," he said. Evelina took the glass with trembling hands. The water burned going down her split throat. Roman opened the kit and pulled out antiseptic, gauze, bandages. His movements were efficient, practiced, like he'd done this before. "This is going to hurt," he warned. Then he started cleaning the wound on her eyebrow. Evelina hissed through her teeth. Pain exploded across her face. "Sorry." Roman's voice stayed flat, controlled. But his hand was steady, gentle almost, as he worked. "Tell me how long this has been happening. Does it matter?" "Yes." She closed her eyes. 8 months. Roman's hand stilled for half a second, then continued working. "And you never left." "I tried twice. He caught me both times." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "He has documents, psychiatric evaluations, commitment papers. One phone call and I disappear into a facility where no one will ever find me." "Those documents are worthless. To you, maybe. But every judge in this city loves Grant Holloway. Every cop. Every—" She stopped, swallowed. "He's untouchable." "No one's untouchable." Roman finished bandaging her eyebrow and moved to her wrists. The zip tie burns were deep, raw, still bleeding. He cleaned them carefully, wrapping gauze around each wrist like he was handling something precious. Grant Holloway built his reputation on lies, and lies burn fast once you light the match. "What are you saying?" Roman met her eyes. "I'm saying you're not going back to him. Ever. And by the time I'm done, Grant Holloway won't have a reputation left to hide behind." The certainty in his voice should have terrified her. Instead, something hot and furious stirred in Evelina's chest, something that felt dangerously close to hope. A knock interrupted them. Roman stood. "That'll be Dr. Reyes." The doctor was a short man with kind eyes and a leather bag that looked older than Evelina. He examined her in silence, ribs, jaw, skull, internal bleeding, while Roman stood by the window like a statue. Finally, Dr. Reyes straightened. 2 cracked ribs, mild concussion, no internal bleeding, but she needs rest, lots of it. He looked at Roman. "She's lucky you found her when you did." "Luck had nothing to do with it." Roman's voice was cold, empty. Dr. Reyes left medication and instructions. Roman walked him out. Evelina sat on the bed and tried to remember how to breathe without her ribs screaming. When Roman returned, he had a glass of scotch in one hand. "You should sleep," he said. "I can't." Evelina stared at her bandaged wrists. "Every time I close my eyes, I'm back in that garage." Roman drank the scotch in one swallow, set the glass down hard enough that it cracked. "Then don't sleep. We have work to do." "Work? You're going to tell me everything about Grant Holloway, every case, every client, every dirty secret he's buried." Roman pulled a chair over and sat down facing her. "And then we're going to burn his world to the ground." Checked. Dawn broke gray and cold over Atlanta. Evelina hadn't slept. Neither had Roman. They'd spent the night at the dining table with coffee and case files. Years' worth of Grant's legal work spread across mahogany like evidence at a crime scene. Roman's people had pulled everything: court records, bank statements, client lists, emails, text messages. A digital autopsy of Grant Holloway's entire career. And the deeper they dug, the uglier it got. This case. Roman tapped a file from 3 years ago. Victim's name was Sarah Chen. Restraining order against her ex-husband. Grant represented her. Evelina leaned forward. Pain shot through her ribs, but she ignored it. "What happened?" "Restraining order got dismissed. Judge ruled insufficient evidence." Roman's finger moved to another document. 3 weeks later, the ex-husband broke into Sarah's apartment and beat her into a coma. She died 2 days later. Evelina's stomach turned. Grant told me about that case. He said the judge was corrupt, that he'd fought as hard as he could. He lied. Roman slid another paper across the table. Bank transfer. $50,000 from the ex-husband's account into an offshore shell company Grant controls. Dated 1 week before the restraining order hearing. The words took a moment to land. When they did, ice flooded Evelina's veins. He was paid to lose the case, she whispered. Not just that case. Roman opened another file, then another, then another. I count 11 so far. 11 women whose cases Grant deliberately sabotaged, missed evidence filings, manipulated testimony, destroyed restraining orders, and every single time there's a payment from the abuser into one of Grant's shell companies. Evelina couldn't breathe. He was selling them to the highest bidder. Roman's voice had gone dead. Flat. The kind of flat that preceded violence. Grant Holloway built an empire by destroying vulnerable women from inside the legal system. Why? The question came out broken. Why would he do that? Money, power. Because he could. Roman closed the files. Men like Grant don't need complicated reasons. They just need victims who won't fight back. Evelina pressed her hands against the table to keep them from shaking. What happened to the other 10 women? Roman didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was careful. Too careful. 3 are dead. 4 disappeared. No forwarding address. No contact with family. The other 3, he stopped. We're still looking. You mean they're probably dead too? Yes. The room tilted. Evelina gripped the table edge until her knuckles went white. I need air. She stumbled toward the back door. Roman didn't try to stop her. Outside, the morning was cold and wet. Rain had stopped, but the grass still dripped. Evelina walked barefoot across the lawn until her feet went numb, staring at nothing while her brain tried to process what she'd just learned. Grant hadn't just hurt her. He'd destroyed 11 other women, sold them back to their abusers for money, and she'd been sleeping beside him for almost a year without knowing. Footsteps behind her. Roman approached slowly, giving her space. How long have you known? Evelina asked without turning around. About Grant's operation, 3 days? About what he did to you specifically? Roman stopped beside her. 24 hours. Why do you care? She finally looked at him. You don't know me. You rule Atlanta's underworld. Why risk everything for some random woman you found in a parking garage? Roman was quiet for a long moment. My sister, he finally said. Elena, she died 6 years ago. Her boyfriend beat her to death while she was pregnant. He got 3 years because his lawyer convinced the jury she provoked him. Evelina's chest tightened. I killed him the day he got out of prison, Roman continued, his voice empty. Made it look like a car accident, and I swore I'd never let another man get away with putting his hands on a woman. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just tell me you're ready to fight. Roman turned to face her fully. Because I can protect you. I can hide you. But if you want Grant Holloway to pay for what he's done, if you want justice, you're going to have to be willing to burn everything down to get it. Evelina thought about the garage, the zip ties, Grant's fist connecting with her face over and over while she stopped fighting because fighting only made it worse. Then she thought about Sarah Chen, the other 10 women, all the ones who didn't survive. What do you need me to do? She asked. Roman's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Approval, maybe, or recognition. Come inside, he said. I'll show you. Dammasig. Grant Holloway's phone buzzed at 6:30 in the morning while he was standing in front of his bathroom mirror adjusting his tie. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then curiosity got the better of him. This is Grant. Silence. Then breathing. Grant's fingers tightened around the phone. Who is this? You left something in the parking garage last night. The voice was male, unfamiliar, cold enough to freeze blood. I picked it up for you. Grant's pulse kicked. I don't know what your... Evelina Voss, 5'7", brown hair, your fiancé. Ring any bells? A pause. Or should I say former fiancé? Every muscle in Grant's body went rigid. Where is she? Somewhere you'll never find her. Listen to me very carefully. No, you listen. The voice hardened. You put your hands on that woman. You tied her to a concrete column and left her bleeding while you accepted an award for protecting abuse victims. And now you're going to pay for it. Grant forced himself to breathe, stay calm, control the situation. I don't know who you are or what Evelina told you, but she's not stable. She needs help, professional help. I have psychiatric evaluations from doctors who don't exist. The man laughed. It sounded like broken glass. I've read your files, Grant. All of them. Sarah Chen, Rebecca Walsh, Amanda Torres. Should I keep going, or do you want to guess where those 11 women are now? Ice shot down Grant's spine. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't. Here's how this works. You're going to stay away from Evelina. You're going to stop calling her, stop looking for her, pretend she never existed. And if I don't, then I'll make sure every judge, politician, and media outlet in Atlanta knows exactly what you've been doing for the last 5 years. And trust me, I have evidence. Bank records, emails, recorded phone calls, everything. Grant's hand shook. You're bluffing. Try me. The line went dead. Grant stood there holding the phone while his reflection stared back at him, pale, sweating, unraveling at the edges. He'd spent years building his reputation, years cultivating relationships with powerful people, years making himself untouchable, and some faceless stranger was threatening to destroy it all. His phone buzzed again. A text message. Unknown number. One photograph. Evelina. Asleep in a bed Grant didn't recognize, bandages on her wrists, bruises covering her face. Underneath, she's safe now. Stay away. Grant threw his phone across the bathroom. It shattered against the tile. Then he pulled out his burner, the one he used for his real business, and made a call. It's me, he said when someone answered. I need you to find someone. Vertex. Roman's head of security was a woman named Cade, 6 feet tall, muscular, ex-military. She walked into the study where Roman and Evelina were reviewing more files and dropped a tablet on the desk. Grant made 3 calls in the last hour, she said. 2 to private investigators, 1 to a contact in APD. He's looking for her. Roman didn't look surprised. Expected. What did you tell the investigators? That she flew to Chicago this morning. Credit card trail leads to O'Hare, hotel reservation downtown. Should buy us 48 hours before they realize it's a dead end. Good. What about the cop? Detective named Morrison. He's on Grant's payroll, has been for years. Helped bury evidence in at least 3 of the sabotaged cases. Cade's expression hardened. Want me to pay him a visit? Not yet. Let Grant think he still has allies in the department. Makes him sloppy. Cade nodded and left. Evelina stared after her. How many people work for you? Enough. Roman returned his attention to the files. We need to move faster. Grant's going to realize the Chicago trail is fake within 2 days. When that happens, he'll start tearing this city apart looking for you. So what do we do? Roman pulled out a new file. This one was thicker than the others, older. There's one case Grant worked that doesn't fit the pattern, he said. Victim's name was Naomi Mercer. Single mother, 2 kids. Her ex-husband was a wealthy real estate developer with connections all over Atlanta. Evelina opened the file. Photographs spilled out. A woman in her mid-30s with tired eyes and a forced smile. 2 children, a boy and a girl. Grant represented her in the custody battle, Roman continued. He lost, badly. The ex-husband got full custody. Naomi was labeled an unfit mother, psychiatric issues, substance abuse, all the usual tactics. Let me guess. None of it was true. None of it. Roman tapped the file. Naomi disappeared 7 months ago, officially ruled a runaway. Family filed missing person reports. A PD declared her an adult who left voluntarily. Case closed. But she didn't leave voluntarily. No. Roman met her eyes. My sources say she's being held at a rural property her ex-husband owns, 90 miles outside Atlanta. He's keeping her there, drugged, isolated, terrified, as punishment for trying to leave him. Evelina's hands clenched into fists, and no one's looking for her. Grant made sure of that, paid off the investigating officers. Convinced the family she'd abandoned her kids, destroyed her credibility so thoroughly that even if she escaped and told people what happened, no one would believe her. We have to get her out. We will. Roman closed the file. But first I need to know you're ready for what comes next, because once we pull Naomi out of that property, Grant will know we're coming for him. There's no going back after that. Evelina thought about the woman in those photographs, thought about her own reflection in Grant's penthouse mirror, hollow-eyed and hopeless. Thought about all the women who'd believed Grant would save them, only to have him sell them back to their abusers. "I'm ready," she said. Roman studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "We move tomorrow night." The next 36 hours blurred together. Roman's people gathered intelligence, floor plans, security systems, guard rotations, everything they needed to extract one woman from a fortified property without anyone dying. Evelina insisted on going. "Absolutely not," Roman said flatly. "You have 2 cracked ribs and a concussion." "She'll be terrified. She needs to see another woman, someone who understands." "My people understand." "Shit. No," Evelina cut him off. "They understand tactics and extractions. I understand what it's like to be where Naomi is right now. She needs to know she's not crazy, that someone believes her, and she needs to hear it from someone who's been through it." Roman's jaw tightened. "If you slow us down, I won't." They stared at each other. Finally, Roman looked away first. "Fine, but you stay in the vehicle until we secure the building, and if I tell you to run, you run. Understood?" "Understood." The night of the extraction was moonless and cold. Evelina rode in the back seat of an SUV with Cade driving and Roman beside her. 2 more vehicles followed, 8 people total, all armed, all moving with the kind of coordinated silence that came from years of working together. The property sat at the end of a dirt road surrounded by pine trees and darkness. No neighbors for miles. The perfect place to hide someone. Roman's people disabled the security system first, then the cameras. By the time they reached the main house, it was like stepping into a grave. Silent, dark, suffocating. Cade moved through the front door first, weapon up. Roman followed. Evelina stayed behind like promised, her heart hammering so hard she could hear it in her skull. Minutes passed like hours. Then Roman reappeared in the doorway. "We found her," he said quietly. "She's in bad shape. You should come." Evelina followed him through the house, past expensive furniture and tasteful art that made the whole place feel like a mausoleum, into a basement bedroom that had been converted into a cell. Bare mattress on the floor. Bucket in the corner. No windows. And in the center of it all, a woman sat huddled against the wall with her arms wrapped around her knees. Naomi Mercer. Her hair was matted, her clothes filthy, her eyes wild and unfocused, like she'd stopped believing rescue was possible months ago. Evelina dropped to her knees in front of her. "Naomi," she said softly. "My name is Evelina. We're here to take you home." Naomi stared at her like she was speaking a foreign language. "It's okay," Evelina continued. "You're safe now. We're not going to hurt you." "He said no one would come." Naomi's voice cracked. "He said I deserved this, that I was a bad mother, that my kids were better off without me." He lied. Evelina reached out slowly, giving Naomi time to pull away. When she didn't, Evelina took her hand. "None of that was true. You're not crazy. You're not a bad mother, and your kids need you." Naomi's face crumpled. Then she started sobbing, deep, broken sounds that tore through the basement like something dying. Evelina held her while she cried and didn't say anything because there was nothing left to say. Sometimes survival was just holding on while someone else fell apart. Roman's people got Naomi into the vehicle. They were gone within 10 minutes, leaving no trace they'd ever been there except an empty cell and a broken lock. On the drive back to Atlanta, Naomi sat pressed against Evelina's side, shaking like she might fly apart. "Where are my kids?" she whispered. "With your mother," Roman said from the front seat. "We'll arrange a reunion once you've been checked by a doctor." "He'll find me again." "No, he won't." Roman's voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "The property we just pulled you from? It doesn't exist anymore. And neither does your ex-husband's ability to hurt you." Evelina didn't ask what that meant. She wasn't sure she wanted to know. Dr. Reyes examined Naomi while Evelina waited outside the bedroom. Roman stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in low tones with someone on the other end. When he hung up, his expression was darker than usual. "Grant knows," he said. Evelina's stomach dropped. "How?" Naomi's ex-husband called him 20 minutes ago screaming about a break-in. Grant put it together. Roman pocketed his phone. "He's going to come after us hard now." "Let him." Roman looked at her sharply. "You understand what that means? Grant has connections everywhere. Judges, cops, politicians. He can make you disappear legally and no one will question it." "Then we move first." Evelina's voice steadied. "You said you have evidence, bank records, emails, everything, so let's use it." "It's not that simple." "Yes, it is." She stepped closer. "Grant's power comes from his reputation, from people believing he's a hero. So we destroy that first. We show the world exactly who he is. And then we watch him burn." Roman studied her face. "You're not the same woman I found in that garage." "No." Evelina met his eyes. "That woman died the moment she read those files. What's left doesn't forgive, doesn't forget, and sure as hell doesn't back down." Something flickered across Roman's expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition of someone who'd crossed the same line he had years ago. "All right," he said. "Then let's go to war." The plan came together over the next week. Roman's people compiled everything, every bank transfer, every sabotaged case, every victim. They built a digital fortress of evidence that would survive any legal challenge. Meanwhile, Grant tore Atlanta apart looking for Evelina. He filed a missing person report. "My fiancée disappeared. She's mentally unstable. I'm worried she'll hurt herself," and got half the APD searching for her. He called in favors with judges, politicians, anyone who owed him, put private investigators on the case, offered rewards. But Roman's network was better. Every lead turned cold. Every trail vanished. And with each dead end, Grant got sloppier, more desperate. Roman's people recorded everything. Phone calls where Grant threatened investigators who couldn't find Evelina. Meetings where he tried to bribe cops into fabricating evidence. A confrontation with Naomi's ex-husband where Grant screamed about protecting their mutual interests. All of it documented. All of it admissible. All of it building toward one final move. Evelina spent those days with Naomi. Helped her shower. Helped her eat. Sat with her when the nightmares came. Watched her slowly remember that she was human and not just something to be used. The day Naomi reunited with her children, Evelina stood in the doorway and watched them cry together. The little girl, maybe 7, wrapped her arms around her mother's neck and wouldn't let go. The boy kept asking if she was staying this time. "Yes," Naomi whispered, holding them both. "I'm never leaving again." That night, Evelina found Roman in his study staring at a map of Atlanta covered in pins and red string like a conspiracy board. "What's that?" she asked. "Every location Grant's used for his operation. Shell companies, properties, bank accounts." Roman tapped one pin. "This is where it ends." "Where?" "The Atlanta Legal Excellence Gala. 3 weeks from now. 400 guests. Every judge, politician, and media outlet in the state. Grant's receiving the Advocate of the Year award." Evelina's breath caught. "You want to expose him there? In front of everyone who made him untouchable?" Roman turned to face her. "We'll need access to the museum's AV system. Someone to upload the evidence to their servers, and you'll need to be there." "Why me?" "Because you're the one person Grant can't explain away. You're his fiancée, the woman he reported missing. If you walk into that gala alive and unbroken, his whole story collapses." Evelina's pulse hammered. "He'll try to kill me the moment he sees me." "I know." Roman's expression hardened. "Which is why you're not going alone." The next 2 weeks passed in preparation. Roman's people built a foolproof plan. Every contingency, every exit strategy, every possible scenario where things went wrong. Evelina trained with Cade. Self-defense, situational awareness, how to move through a crowd without being cornered. Her ribs still ached, but she pushed through the pain. Grant continued searching, continued calling in favors, continued unraveling at the edges. And then, 5 days before the gala, everything changed. Evelina was reviewing testimony transcripts when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her stomach clenched. She answered, "Hello?" Breathing, then, "Hello, sweetheart." Grant's voice. Every muscle in Evelina's body locked. "How did you get this number?" "I have friends everywhere. You know that." He sounded calm. Too calm. "I've been looking for you." "I know." "Where are you, Evelina?" "Somewhere you'll never find me." Grant laughed softly. "That's what Roman Castell told you to say, isn't it? Does he know you're just using him? That the moment you're safe, you'll run back to me like you always do?" "I'm not running anywhere." "Yes, you are. You're terrified, broken, lost without me." His voice dropped. "I made you, Evelina. Everything you are belongs to me. And you're going to come home where you belong." "No." Silence. Then, "I have your mother." The world tilted. "What? Your mother, Janet Voss, lives in Marietta, works at the elementary school library, drives a blue Honda Civic." Grant's voice was conversational now, friendly almost. "She's currently having coffee at a Starbucks on Roswell Road. Alone. Unprotected." Ice flooded Evelina's veins. "If you touch her, then come home. Right now. Alone. And I'll let her go." "I don't believe you." "Then don't. But if anything happens to her, if she gets hit by a car, mugged, has a sudden heart attack, you'll know it was because you chose Roman Castell over your own family." The line went dead. Evelina stood there shaking, phone pressed to her ear, while her world collapsed inward. Roman appeared in the doorway. "What happened?" She told him. Roman's expression went dark. Lethal. "He's bluffing." "What if he's not? Then we move now. Tonight. Pull your mother into protective custody before Grant can touch her." "And if he has people watching her already? If we spook them and they—" Evelina couldn't finish the sentence. Roman pulled out his phone, dialed. "Cade, I need eyes on Janet Voss. Marietta address. Now." He listened for a moment. "I don't care how many people it takes. No one touches her. Understood?" He hung up and looked at Evelina. "We'll protect her," he said. "You can't promise that." "I just did." Evelina wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that Roman's network was strong enough to keep her mother safe from Grant's reach. But deep down, she knew the truth. Grant Holloway didn't make empty threats, and he always found a way to win. Cade called back 14 minutes later. Roman had the phone on speaker. Evelina stood across from him, gripping the edge of his desk so hard her knuckles went white. "We have eyes on the mother," Cade said. "Starbucks on Roswell Road. She's alone, reading a book. No visible surveillance." "You're sure?" Roman asked. "Checked every vehicle in the lot. Scanned for listening devices. If Grant has people here, they're ghosts." Evelina's breath came out shaky. "Can you get her somewhere safe?" "Not without spooking her. If we approach cold, she'll panic, call the cops. Creates a scene." Cade paused. "You want us to extract anyway?" Roman looked at Evelina. She closed her eyes, tried to think through the terror flooding her system. If Cade grabbed her mother off the street, Janet would fight, scream, and Grant would know exactly where to strike next. But if they did nothing— "Stay on her," Evelina said finally. "Don't approach. Just make sure no one else does either." "Copy that." The line went dead. Roman circled the desk. "We need to move your mother tonight. Bring her here. Put her under protection until this is over." "She won't come. She doesn't even know what's happening." Evelina's voice cracked. "I haven't spoken to her in 8 months. Grant made sure of that. Convinced her I'd had a breakdown, that I needed space. Then we tell her the truth. And say what? Your daughter's been getting beaten by her fiancé for almost a year, and now a crime lord is protecting her while they plan to destroy Atlanta's most celebrated attorney." Evelina laughed bitterly. "She'll think I actually did have a breakdown." Roman's jaw tightened. "We're running out of time. Grant made his move. Now we make ours." "What if he's already won?" The words came out barely above a whisper. "What if everything we've done, Naomi, the evidence, all of it, doesn't matter because he'll just keep taking people I love until I give up?" "Then he doesn't know you very well." Roman stepped closer. "The woman I found in that garage would have given up, would have gone back to him to protect her mother. But you're not her anymore." "No." Evelina met his eyes. "I'm worse." Something dark flickered across Roman's expression. Not disapproval, understanding. Good, he said, because what comes next requires worse receipts. They moved Janet Voss at 2 in the morning. Not an extraction, an invitation. Evelina called from a burner phone, hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped it twice before her mother answered. Hello? Janet's voice was thick with sleep, confused. Mom, it's me. Silence. Then, Evelina, I need you to listen very carefully. Don't say my name again. Don't turn on any lights. Just listen. Sweetheart, what's going on? Grant said you were... Grant lied. Evelina forced the words out. About everything. And right now you're in danger because of me. There are people outside your house. Good people. They're going to take you somewhere safe. I don't understand. You don't have to. Just trust me. Please. Another pause, longer this time. Are you safe? Janet asked quietly. Evelina's throat closed. Yes. Then I'll go. 5 minutes later, Cade's team had Janet in an armored SUV heading toward Roman's estate. No lights, no sirens. Just shadows moving through Atlanta's empty streets like smoke. When Janet arrived, Evelina met her in the foyer. Her mother looked exactly the same, graying hair, tired eyes, the kind of face that had seen too much and still chose kindness. She stared at Evelina for a long moment, taking in the fading bruises, the bandaged wrists, the way her daughter stood like she'd forgotten how to relax. Then Janet crossed the space between them and pulled Evelina into her arms. I'm sorry, she whispered. I should have known. I should have seen. It's not your fault. Evelina held on tight, breathing in the familiar scent of lavender soap and coffee. He fooled everyone. Not anymore. Janet pulled back, gripping Evelina's shoulders. Tell me what you need. So Evelina told her everything. The abuse, the files, the 11 destroyed women, Naomi, the gala, the plan to burn Grant's empire to ash. Janet listened without interrupting. When Evelina finished, her mother's expression had gone cold and hard, the same look Evelina remembered from childhood when someone at school had bullied her. Protective rage wrapped in absolute calm. What can I do? Janet asked. Stay here. Stay safe. Let me finish this. Absolutely not. Janet's voice sharpened. That man threatened me to control you. I'm not hiding while you fight him alone. Roman appeared in the doorway. She won't be alone. Janet looked him up and down, taking in the expensive suit, the predatory stillness, the barely concealed violence simmering beneath his surface. You're Roman Castell. Yes, ma'am. You're a criminal. Yes, ma'am. Janet studied him for another moment, then nodded once. Good. Grant Holloway deserves worse than the law can give him. Roman's mouth twitched, almost a smile. I like your mother, Jacob. The next 3 days moved like a countdown. Grant went silent. No calls, no threats, nothing. It made Evelina's skin crawl. He's planning something, she told Roman on the second night. They were in his study reviewing the gala infiltration plan for the 100th time. He wouldn't just back off. He's regrouping, figuring out his next move. Roman marked another position on the museum floor plan. Doesn't matter, we're ready for anything. Are we? Roman looked up. You having second thoughts? No? Evelina stared at the map. I'm having all the thoughts. Every worst-case scenario. Every way this goes wrong. That's smart. Means you're thinking like a survivor instead of a victim. He set down the marker. But you need to trust that we've covered every angle. My people are the best in the business, and I don't lose. Everyone loses eventually. Not to men like Grant Holloway. Roman's voice went cold, absolute. He's powerful because people are afraid to fight back. But you're not afraid anymore. And that makes you more dangerous than he'll ever be. Evelina wanted to believe him. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Grant's face, heard his voice, felt his hands around her throat, and she wondered if some monsters were too big to kill. All right. The break came on day 4. Cade burst into the study without knocking, tablet in hand. We have a problem. Roman stood immediately. What kind? The kind that means Grant's been playing us from the beginning. She dropped the tablet on the desk. Security footage filled the screen. This is from 3 days ago, outside the property where we extracted Naomi. The video showed the house, the woods, the empty driveway. Then, 2 hours after Roman's team left, a car pulled up. Grant Holloway got out. Evelina's blood turned to ice. Grant walked into the house, spent 15 minutes inside, then returned to his car and drove away. "He knew," Evelina whispered. "He knew we took her." "It gets worse." Cade fast-forwarded the footage. Watch the timestamp. 20 minutes after Grant left, police arrived. Searched the property. Found nothing because there was nothing to find. Naomi was already long gone, and Roman's people had scrubbed the scene clean. The police left. And then Grant returned. This time he wasn't alone. A woman got out of the passenger side, blonde, expensive clothes. She looked nervous, kept glancing at Grant like she was waiting for permission to breathe. The camera angle was bad, but Evelina could just make out her face. Her stomach dropped. "That's Rebecca Walsh," she said, "one of the victims. She's supposed to be dead. She's not." Cade pulled up another file. "Rebecca Walsh, officially deceased 8 months ago. Car accident, closed casket funeral. But she's been living under a false identity in Savannah, working as a paralegal." "For Grant," Roman finished. "For Grant." Cade's expression was grim. "And she's not the only one. We've found 3 other victims who didn't actually die. They disappeared into new identities, new lives, all of them still connected to Grant's operation." Evelina couldn't breathe. "He's been keeping them." "More than that." Roman pulled up bank records. "He's been using them. These women work for him now, process his illegal payments, maintain his shell companies, handle his logistics. They're not victims anymore. They're accomplices." The room tilted. Evelina grabbed the desk to steady herself. Why would they work for him? After what he did to them, because he owns them. Cade's voice was flat. Fake identities mean fake documentation, social security numbers, birth certificates, driver's licenses, all created and controlled by Grant. If any of these women try to leave, he destroys their new identity and they disappear into the system. No way to prove who they are. No way to reclaim their old lives. Evelina couldn't find words. That's worse than killing them. It's enslavement. Roman's jaw tightened. He didn't just sabotage their cases, he erased their entire existence and rebuilt them into tools he could control. Evelina's mind raced. Naomi, did he? No. Naomi was different. Her ex-husband wanted her alive and suffering, so Grant arranged that instead. Cade pulled up another file. But there's more. We've been going through the evidence we compiled. The bank transfers, the emails, all of it. And some of it's fake. The words landed like a punch. Roman went very still. Explain. Not all of it. Maybe 20%. But enough that if we release everything at the gala, Grant's lawyers will be able to pick apart the real evidence by pointing to the fabricated parts. Make the whole case look like a setup. How did fabricated evidence get into our files? Roman's voice dropped to something lethal. Cade met his eyes. Someone on the inside planted it. Silence. Then Roman moved. He grabbed the tablet, pulled up security logs, started scanning through access records with the kind of focused intensity that made the temperature in the room drop 10 degrees. Everyone who touched these files, he said. I want names. Cade rattled off 6 people. Roman's core team. People he'd worked with for years. Run background checks again. All of them. Go back 10 years. Find me the connection to Grant. Cade left. Evelina stood there trying to process what she'd just learned. If the evidence is compromised, then we scrub the fake documents and release only what we can verify. Roman's fingers flew across the tablet. We still have enough to destroy him. Do we? Evelina's voice rose. Because it sounds like Grant's been 3 steps ahead this entire time. He knew we'd rescue Naomi, knew we'd find the victim files. Maybe he wanted us to find them. Maybe this whole thing has been... She stopped. The thought crystallized so fast it knocked the air from her lungs. A trap, she finished. We've been building his defense for him. Roman looked up sharply. Think about it, Evelina continued, words tumbling out faster now. We expose him at the gala, show the evidence, but his lawyers immediately point to the fabricated documents, claim the whole thing is a setup orchestrated by a known criminal, you, and a mentally unstable woman, me, who both have obvious grudges against him. He can't explain the victims who are still alive. Yes, he can. They're working for him voluntarily. Grateful he gave them new identities after their abusive exes tried to kill them. He's not their captor, he's their savior. Evelina's hands shook. And we have no way to prove otherwise because their old identities don't exist anymore. Roman's expression darkened. He's been building reasonable doubt from the beginning. Not just doubt, an entire alternate narrative where he's the hero and we're the villains trying to destroy him. Evelina's voice cracked. We've already lost. No. Roman set down the tablet. We haven't, because Grant made one mistake. What? He assumed you'd stay broken. Roman moved around the desk. Everything he's done, the fake evidence, the controlled victims, the narrative engineering, it all depends on you being too traumatized to fight back effectively. But you're not. Which means we don't play his game anymore. Then what do we do? Roman's eyes went cold, dead. We burn it all down. Not just Grant's reputation. Everything. His assets, his connections, his victims. We expose the entire system so thoroughly that there's nothing left to defend. That'll destroy those women's lives. They're already destroyed. We're just making it visible. Roman's voice hardened. You want Grant Holloway to pay? This is the cost, collateral damage, scorched earth, no mercy. Evelina stared at him. This was the man Atlanta's underworld feared, not because he was violent, though he was, but because he understood that real power came from being willing to sacrifice everything to win. Okay, she said quietly. Burn it down. Bestat. Cade returned an hour later with a name. Marcus Webb, one of your logistics coordinators. He's been feeding information to Grant for 6 weeks. Roman's expression didn't change. Where is he? Downstairs. Waiting. They found Marcus in a basement room that looked like it had been designed specifically for conversations people didn't walk away from. Concrete walls. Single light bulb. Drain in the floor. Marcus sat in a metal chair with his hands zip-tied behind his back. When Roman entered, the man went pale. I can explain. Roman hit him. Not a slap. A closed fist punch that snapped Marcus's head sideways and split his lip open. Explain, Roman said quietly. Marcus spat blood. Grant approached me 2 months ago, said he knew about my gambling debts, offered to clear them if I helped him. Helped him how? Planted fake documents in your evidence files, fed him intel on your movements, told him when you extracted Naomi Mercer. What else? Marcus hesitated. Roman hit him again. What else? Roman repeated. The gala. Marcus's voice came out wet, broken. He knows you're planning to expose him there. He's ready for it. Has lawyers standing by. Media strategy prepared. Counter-narrative locked in. Evelina stepped forward. Does he know I'm alive? Yes. Does he know where I am? Marcus looked away. Roman grabbed his jaw, forced eye contact. Answer her. He knows you're with Roman. Doesn't know the exact location, but he knows you're under protection. What's his endgame? Roman asked. Survive the gala. Discredit you both. Then Marcus stopped, swallowed. Then he's planning to have Evelina committed. Already has the paperwork filed. Judges signed off. The moment you two go public, he triggers the commitment order and has her institutionalized before she can testify against him. Ice flooded Evelina's veins. That's not legal. It is when 4 psychiatrists sign off saying you're a danger to yourself and others. When your own mother makes a statement about your deteriorating mental health. Marcus met her eyes. He's been building the case for months, medical records, incident reports, witness statements. You show up at that gala, and 20 minutes later you'll be in restraints being loaded into an ambulance. The room spun. Evelina grabbed the wall to keep from falling. My mother would never... Doesn't matter if she does or doesn't. Grant has a statement with her forged signature. Has videos of her saying you need help. Deepfakes, but good ones. Has a paper trail showing she's been trying to get you treatment for almost a year. This isn't possible. It's already done. Marcus's voice dropped. You lost the moment you tried to fight him. Roman's hand closed around Marcus's throat. Wait, Marcus choked out. There's more. I don't care. Roman squeezed. Marcus's face turned red, then purple. His legs kicked uselessly against the chair. Evelina watched without moving, without feeling. Part of her knew she should stop this, should be horrified, should feel something other than cold satisfaction watching Grant's spy suffocate, but that part was very small now, very distant. Roman released Marcus before he died. The man collapsed forward, gasping and retching. "Get him out of my sight," Roman told Cade. Cade dragged Marcus from the room. Evelina and Roman stood in silence. Finally, Evelina spoke. "He's right. We've already lost." "No. Yes." She turned to face him. "Everything we've planned, the gala, the evidence, all of it. Grant's been ready for it from the beginning. He's controlled every move we've made, and even if we somehow expose him, he'll just use the commitment order to silence me, lock me away where no one will ever hear my side. We'll fight the commitment order." "With what?" "We're a known criminal and his mentally unstable captive. That's how the world will see us." Evelina's voice went dead, flat. "Grant wins. He always wins." Roman grabbed her shoulders. "Look at me." She did. "Grant Holloway is playing a game where the rules protect him, so we stop playing by the rules." His grip tightened. "You want him destroyed? Really destroyed? Then we do what he can't prepare for, what he can't defend against, what he can't survive." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we don't expose him at the gala." Roman's eyes went dark, feral. "We kill him instead." The words hung between them like a blade. Evelina should have been shocked, horrified, should have argued that murder wasn't justice. Instead, she heard herself say, "How?" The plan was simple. Roman would attend the gala as a legitimate donor. He'd bought a table months ago under one of his shell companies. Evelina would stay away. No exposure, no confrontation, nothing Grant could use against her. During Grant's acceptance speech, Roman would approach the stage. One bullet, clean shot, dead before he hit the ground. Then Roman's people would extract him from the museum before police arrived, disappear him into his network. By the time APD figured out what happened, Roman would be in another country under another name. "What about me?" Evelina asked. "You stay here, protected. When Grant dies, the commitment order becomes worthless. His entire operation collapses. And you walk away clean. And you disappear forever." "Yes." Evelina stared at him. "That's the plan? You sacrifice yourself so I can be free?" "It's the only plan that works." Roman's voice was steady, certain. "Grant can't be destroyed legally. His connections run too deep, but dead men have no connections. There has to be another way." "There isn't." Roman stepped closer. "I've lived the last 6 years trying to make up for not saving Elena. This is how I finish that, by making sure no other woman loses to a man like Grant Holloway. I don't want you dead. I won't be dead, just gone." Something flickered across his expression. "You'll be safe. That's all that matters." Evelina wanted to argue, wanted to find some other solution that didn't end with Roman shooting Grant in front of 400 people and vanishing forever, but she couldn't think of one, because deep down she knew he was right. Grant Holloway couldn't be beaten, only killed. The night before the gala, Evelina couldn't sleep. She walked through Roman's house, touching things, books, furniture, walls, like she was trying to memorize the feeling of being safe. Tomorrow Grant would be dead. Roman would be gone. And she'd be alone again. Free, maybe, but alone. She found Roman in the study staring at Elena's photograph, his sister, the reason he'd started all of this. "I never asked how she died," Evelina said quietly from the doorway. Roman didn't look up. Her boyfriend beat her. She was 6 months pregnant. She died in the hospital 3 days later. The baby didn't survive either. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. Just promise me you'll do something with your freedom." Roman set down the photograph. "Start that foundation. Help women like Naomi. Make sure Elena's death and Grant's means something." "What if I can't?" "You will." He finally looked at her. "You're stronger than you think. Stronger than I'll ever be." Evelina crossed the room, stood in front of him. "Thank you for everything." "Don't thank me yet. Wait until Grant's dead." She reached up and kissed him. Roman went still for half a second. Then his hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. The kiss was gentle, careful, like he was afraid she might break. When they pulled apart, His eyes held something raw and unguarded. "Stay alive," Evelina whispered. "Please, find a way to stay alive." "I'll try." It was the best promise he could give. Checks. The morning of the gala, everything went wrong. Roman was in the shower when Cade kicked open the bathroom door. "We have a problem," she said. Janet's gone." Roman grabbed a towel. "What do you mean gone?" "She left the estate 20 minutes ago. One of the guards found a note." Roman read it while water dripped down his neck. "I'm sorry. I have to fix this." "Janet." "Where is she?" Roman demanded. "We don't know. She disabled her phone's tracking. Could be anywhere in Atlanta by now." Roman's jaw clenched. "Find her. Now." "Already on it." "But Roman," Cade hesitated. "If she's going where I think she's going, then we're already too late. It's just 6. Janet Voss walked into Grant Holloway's law office at 9:30 in the morning. The receptionist looked surprised. "Ma'am, do you have an appointment?" "Tell Grant my daughter's mother is here." Janet's voice was calm, steady. "He'll want to see me." 5 minutes later, she was in Grant's office. He sat behind his desk, looking every inch the successful attorney. Expensive suit, perfect hair, practiced smile. Like he hadn't spent the last year beating Janet's daughter unconscious. "Mrs. Voss," Grant said warmly. "What a pleasant surprise. Please, sit." Janet remained standing. "I know what you did to Evelina." The smile didn't falter. "I'm afraid your daughter's been through a difficult time. Her mental health—" "Don't." Janet's voice cut through his words like a blade. "I know everything. The abuse, the threats, the commitment papers. All of it." Grant's expression finally shifted. Something cold flickered behind his eyes. "I see Roman Castell got to you too." "No one got to me. I chose to see the truth." Janet stepped closer. "You're going to withdraw the commitment order. You're going to destroy every fabricated document you have on my daughter, and you're going to disappear from her life forever." Grant laughed. Actually laughed. "Or what? Or I testify against you, tell every reporter, every judge, every person in this city exactly what kind of monster you are. You'll do no such thing." Grant stood moving around the desk with predatory calm. "Because if you try, I'll have Evelina committed before you finish your first interview, and you'll spend the rest of your life knowing you're the reason she's locked in a psychiatric facility." Janet didn't back up, didn't flinch. "You underestimate a mother's rage, and you underestimate my reach," Grant smiled. "But since you came all this way, let me show you something." He pulled out his phone, showed her the screen. Security footage, real time, Roman's estate, and inside Evelina pacing the study, alone. "I've had eyes on your daughter since the moment Roman took her," Grant said quietly. "I know where she is. I know who's protecting her. And tonight, during the gala, when Roman tries whatever desperate move he's planning," Grant leaned closer. "I'm going to have Evelina picked up by a private medical transport team. Court-ordered psychiatric hold. She'll be sedated, restrained, and committed before anyone realizes she's gone." Janet's blood ran cold. "You can't." "I already have." Grant pocketed his phone. "Unless you want to help me." "I would never—" "You don't have a choice." His hand shot out, grabbed her wrist. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call your daughter right now. Tell her you love her. Tell her you support her. And then you're going to convince her to meet you somewhere public, somewhere away from Roman's protection." "No." "Yes." Grant's grip tightened until Janet gasped. "Because if you don't, I'll have her committed anyway. But if you help me, I'll let her go. New identity, new life, somewhere far from Atlanta where she can heal. Isn't that what you want? For your daughter to be free?" Janet stared at him, at the monster wearing a hero's face, and she realized with horrible clarity that he was going to win. He'd always been going to win. "Make the call," Grant ordered. Janet's hand shook as she pulled out her phone and dialed. Evelina's phone rang at 10:15. She was in the study reviewing Roman's extraction plan when her mother's name lit up the screen. Relief flooded through her. Janet was safe, probably just checking in, and she answered immediately. "Mom, are you okay?" Silence. Then Janet's voice, careful and measured in a way that made Evelina's skin crawl. "I'm fine, sweetheart. I need to see you. You're at the estate. Just come downstairs." "Ah." No, not there. A pause. Too long, too deliberate. Meet me at Piedmont Park, the oak tree where we used to have picnics when you were little. Do you remember? Evelina's pulse kicked up. Something was wrong. Her mother's voice was too controlled, too precise, like she was reading from a script. Mom, what's going on? Nothing. I need to talk to you. Alone, without Roman's people listening. Janet's breath hitched. Please, Evelina, it's important. Every instinct screamed trap. But it was her mother's voice. Her mother who'd raised her alone after Evelina's father left. Who'd worked 2 jobs to pay for college. Who'd held her through every nightmare and heartbreak. Okay, Evelina said quietly. When? Now, I'm already here. The line went dead. Evelina stared at the phone. Her hands shook. She should tell Roman, should wait for Cade to verify Janet was actually at the park and not being held at gunpoint in Grant's office. Instead, she grabbed her jacket and headed for the garage. She made it to the Tesla before Cade intercepted her. Where are you going? Cade blocked the driver's door, arms crossed. My mother needs me. Your mother is supposed to be in the north wing under guard. How did she call you? I don't know. Move. Not happening. Cade pulled out her phone. I'm calling Roman. Evelina grabbed a wrench from the workbench and swung, not hard enough to do real damage. Just enough to knock the phone from Cade's hand and give Evelina 3 seconds to dive into the car and lock the doors. Cade slammed her palm against the window. Don't do this! The Tesla's engine purred to life. Evelina hit the gas. The garage door was already opening, some guard somewhere hitting the button, and she shot through the gap doing 40. Behind her, Cade was screaming into a radio. Ahead, the iron gates were closing. Evelina floored it. The Tesla scraped through with inches to spare, sparks flying, and then she was on the street accelerating hard while her heart tried to punch through her ribs. Her phone buzzed. Roman calling. She silenced it, then drove toward Piedmont Park like the hounds of hell were chasing her. Roman was pulling on his suit jacket when Cade burst into his bedroom. Evelina's gone, she said. Took one of the cars, heading east toward Midtown. Roman went very still. Why? Her mother called. Set up a meeting at Piedmont Park. Janet's supposed to be in the north wing. She's not. I just checked. She left through a service exit 2 hours ago. Disabled the alarm. Professional work. Roman's jaw clenched so tight Cade heard his teeth grind. Grant has her. That's my read. Then this whole thing is a trap. Roman grabbed his gun from the nightstand, checked the magazine, holstered it. How many people do we have mobile? 6. Everyone else is positioning for the gala tonight. Pull them. Send everyone to Piedmont Park right now and get me eyes on Evelina's location. Cade was already moving, phone pressed to her ear, rattling off orders. Roman followed her downstairs. His mind raced through scenarios. Grant wouldn't kill Evelina in public. Too messy. Too many witnesses. But he'd grab her, trigger the commitment order, have a medical transport team waiting. By the time Roman reached the park, Evelina would already be sedated and loaded into an ambulance. Game over. Unless Roman got there first. He hit the garage at a dead run, threw himself into the Audi, and launched out of the estate doing 70. Cade's voice crackled through the car's speakers. Evelina's phone just went dark. Last ping was 2 blocks from the park. She ditched it. Roman took a corner too fast, tires screaming, "Smart girl." Or she's already in custody. She's not. Roman said it with absolute certainty, even though his gut was screaming otherwise. Grant wants me there. Wants me to watch him take her. That's the point. Then you're driving into an ambush. I know. Roman pushed the Audi to 90 on Peachtree Street, while morning traffic scattered around him like frightened birds. Piedmont Park was beautiful in October. Gold leaves, cool air, joggers and dog walkers and mothers pushing strollers along tree-lined paths. The oak tree Janet had mentioned stood near the lake, massive, ancient, its branches spreading like a cathedral ceiling. Evelina approached slowly, scanning for her mother. The park looked normal, peaceful. Wrong. Then she saw Janet, sitting on a bench beneath the oak tree, alone, staring at the water. Evelina's chest loosened slightly. Maybe she'd been paranoid. Maybe her mother really did just want to talk somewhere away from Roman's surveillance. She started toward the bench, made it 10 steps before the van pulled up. White, unmarked, no windows. It stopped on the access road 30 feet away, and the side door slid open. 2 men in medical scrubs got out. Evelina's blood turned to ice. She spun to run, but more men appeared behind her, 4 of them, moving with coordinated precision, cutting off every escape route. "Mom!" Evelina screamed. Janet stood slowly, turned to face her daughter, and Evelina saw the truth written across her mother's face. Guilt, horror, despair. "I'm sorry," Janet whispered. "He said it was the only way to keep you safe." Then Grant Holloway stepped out of the van. He looked exactly like he always did. Expensive suit, perfect hair, confident smile. Like he was attending a business meeting instead of orchestrating a kidnapping in broad daylight. "Hello, sweetheart," he said. Evelina backed up. Her shoulder blades hit a tree. No room to run, no room to breathe. Grant approached slowly, hands in his pockets, casual as a Sunday stroll. "You've caused me a lot of trouble these last few weeks." "Stay away from me, I don't think so." He stopped 3 feet away. Close enough that Evelina could smell his cologne, the same scent that used to make her feel safe and now made her stomach turn. "We had an arrangement. You belonged to me, and you broke that arrangement." "I don't belong to anyone." "Yes, you do." Grant's voice hardened. "Every breath you take, every thought in your head, every moment of freedom you think you've earned, all of it exists because I allow it, and I'm done allowing it." One of the medical workers stepped forward with a syringe. Evelina tried to bolt. Grant grabbed her arm, yanked her backward, slammed her against the tree so hard her vision went white. Pain exploded through her still healing ribs. "You should have stayed in that garage," he hissed against her ear. "Should have accepted what you are. Now I have to break you all over again." The needle came closer. Evelina thrashed, kicked, fought with everything she had left. Her elbow connected with someone's face. She heard a crunch, shouting, hands grabbing her from every direction. Then the needle bit into her neck. Cold flooded her veins. The world tilted sideways. Grant's face blurred above her. "Sleep now. When you wake up, you'll be exactly where you belong." Evelina's legs gave out. The last thing she saw before darkness swallowed her was her mother's face, pale, anguished, streaming with tears. Roman reached Piedmont Park at exactly 10:47 a.m. He abandoned the Audi in the middle of the access road, gun already drawn, and sprinted toward the oak tree while joggers scattered and someone started screaming. He was too late. The white van was pulling away. Roman got one clear look through the back windows, Evelina unconscious, slumped between 2 medical workers, while Grant Holloway sat across from her looking directly at Roman, smiling. Then the van accelerated and disappeared around a curve. Roman fired twice at the tires, but the shots went wide. He started running after the vehicle, but it was already gone, swallowed by morning traffic. "No!" Cade screeched up beside him in an SUV. "Get in!" Roman dove into the passenger seat. "Just stay on that van." Already tracking it, Cade punched the gas. "They're heading south on Monroe. 3 vehicles ahead." Roman grabbed the radio. "All units converge on the white medical van southbound on Monroe. Do not lose visual. Repeat, do not lose visual." His people acknowledged. The SUV wove through traffic doing 80. Cade's hands white-knuckled on the wheel. Roman's mind raced. Grant had Evelina. Had probably already administered enough sedative to keep her under for hours. By the time they caught up, she'd be processed into whatever facility Grant had arranged. Court orders signed, paperwork filed, legally committed, and Roman would have no way to get her out. "There," Cade pointed. The white van 3 cars ahead. Roman leaned out the window, aimed carefully, fired. The van's back tire exploded. It swerved hard, overcorrected, jumped the curb and slammed into a light pole with a sound like the world ending. Cade hit the brakes. The SUV fishtailed to a stop. Roman was out before the vehicle stopped moving, sprinting toward the wrecked van with his gun up. The side door hung open. One of the medical workers lay unconscious in the street. The other was crawling away, blood streaming from his forehead. No sign of Grant. No sign of Evelina. Roman yanked the injured worker up by his collar. "Where is she?" The man just groaned. Roman shook him hard enough that his head snapped back. Where is she? Second vehicle, the worker choked. Black sedan. They transferred her. Roman dropped him and spun around. A black sedan was pulling away from a side street 50 yards behind them. Cade, Roman shouted, but Cade was already back in the SUV, engine roaring. Roman threw himself into the passenger seat, and they launched after the sedan while pedestrians dove for cover and car horns blared. The chase tore through Midtown like a nightmare. The sedan ran red lights. Cade matched every move. Roman reloaded, leaned out the window, fired at the sedan's tires. One shot connected. The sedan fishtailed but didn't stop. Just kept accelerating with its back tire shredding rubber and sparks flying. They hit the interstate doing 90. Cade pulled alongside the sedan. Roman could see inside now, Grant in the driver's seat, jaw clenched, knuckles white. And in the back, Evelina, unconscious, slumped against the window. Roman aimed at Grant through the glass. Their eyes met. Grant smiled, then slammed the sedan into the SUV. Metal shrieked. Cade lost control. The SUV spun across 3 lanes, clipped a concrete divider, and flipped. The world became violence and broken glass. Roman's head cracked against something hard. Pain exploded through his skull. The SUV rolled once, twice, then slammed down on its roof and scraped to a stop upside down in a shower of sparks. Silence. Roman hung from his seatbelt, blood dripping into his eyes. Beside him, Cade groaned. "You alive?" he rasped. "Yeah." Cade unclipped her belt, dropped onto the crushed roof. "You?" "Close enough." They crawled out through shattered windows. The interstate had become chaos. Stopped cars, people screaming, sirens wailing in the distance. And the black sedan? Gone. Roman stood there swaying, tasting copper, while his entire world collapsed inward. Grant had Evelina, and this time Roman had no idea where they'd gone. Look. Evelina woke to white walls and restraints. Her wrists were strapped to a hospital bed. An IV dripped something clear into her arm. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, too bright, drilling into her skull. She tried to move. Couldn't. Tried to speak. Her tongue felt thick, useless. Footsteps approached. Grant entered the room looking slightly disheveled, his suit jacket torn, a cut above his eyebrow, but otherwise unharmed. "You're awake," he said pleasantly. "Good. I was worried we'd given you too much sedative." Evelina's voice came out slurred. "Where?" "Brookhaven Psychiatric Hospital. Private wing. Very discreet. Very secure." Grant pulled a chair over and sat down beside the bed. "You've been admitted under a 72-hour involuntary hold. 4 psychiatrists signed off on your evaluation. Your mother provided a statement about your deteriorating mental health. It's all very official." "Illegal?" But, Not even a little bit." Grant smiled. "Every document is legitimate. Every signature verified. You tried to run away with a known criminal, assaulted multiple people, led police on a dangerous high-speed chase, clearly suffering from severe psychological distress." Evelina tried to pull against the restraints. Her wrists burned. "Don't bother." Grant reached out, brushed hair back from her face. "You're not leaving this facility until I say so. And I'm not saying so until you remember who you belong to." "Never. We'll see." He stood, straightening his tie. "In the meantime, I have a gala to attend, awards to accept, a reputation to protect. When I'm done being worshipped by Atlanta's elite, I'll come back and we'll discuss your future." He walked toward the door. "Roman will find me," Evelina said. Grant paused, turned back. "Roman Castell is currently bleeding in an overturned SUV on I-85. Even if he survives, he's got bigger problems than you. A PD is issuing warrants as we speak. Kidnapping, reckless endangerment, assault. By this time tomorrow, he'll either be dead or in federal custody." "You're lying." "Am I?" Grant smiled. "Believe what you want. Doesn't change anything. You're mine again. And this time, I'm never letting you go." The door closed behind him with a sound like a coffin ceiling. Evelina lay there staring at the ceiling while tears ran down into her hair. She'd lost. Grant had won, and there was no one left to save her. Bunt. Roman regained consciousness in the back of Cade's backup vehicle. Someone had bandaged his head. His entire body felt like it had been fed through a wood chipper. But he was alive. Cade sat in the driver's seat talking rapid fire into her phone. When she noticed Roman stirring, she ended the call. "How bad?" Roman asked. "Concussion. Couple cracked ribs, you'll live." Cade's expression was grim. "But we've got problems. A PD issued arrest warrants for both of us. Kidnapping, assault, reckless endangerment. Every cop in Atlanta is looking for us. Grant's doing." "Obviously." Cade started the engine. "We need to get off the streets, regroup, figure out our next move." "No!" Roman sat up despite his body screaming in protest. "We find Evelina. She could be anywhere. She's at Brookhaven." Roman said it with absolute certainty. Grant wouldn't risk a public facility. He'd use somewhere private, somewhere his money and connections give him control. "Even if you're right, Brookhaven's a fortress. Private security, cameras everywhere. No way to extract someone without triggering every alarm in the building." "Then we trigger every alarm." Roman's voice went cold. "Dead." "I don't care how loud it gets. I'm not leaving her there." Cade stared at him for a long moment. "This is suicide." "Probably. We'll all end up dead or in prison." "Better than living knowing I failed her." Roman met Cade's eyes. "You can walk away. I won't blame you, but I'm going after her, with or without backup." Cade was quiet. Then she pulled out her phone and started texting. "What are you doing?" Roman asked. "Calling in every favor we have left." She glanced at him. "If we're doing this, we're doing it right. Full team. Full gear. And we're burning every bridge on the way out." Roman felt something loosen in his chest. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. We're probably going to die." "Worth it." Cade smiled grimly. "Yeah, it is." Grant Holloway arrived at the High Museum at 6 p.m. looking every inch the hero. Photographers captured him stepping out of his car. Reporters shouted questions. He waved, smiled, delivered practice sound bites about protecting vulnerable communities and fighting for justice. Inside the museum, Atlanta's elite mingled beneath crystal chandeliers. Governors, judges, business leaders, everyone who mattered, and they all wanted to shake Grant's hand. He worked the room with effortless charm, accepted congratulations, made jokes, played the humble public servant who just wanted to help people. No one knew about the woman currently restrained in a psychiatric facility. No one knew about the 11 destroyed lives. No one knew about the empire built on suffering. They saw only what Grant wanted them to see, a hero. At 7 p.m., the ceremony began. Grant took his seat at the head table while speeches droned on. Awards were presented. Polite applause filled the ballroom. Finally, the MC called his name. "And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. This year's Advocate of the Year award goes to Grant Holloway." The room erupted in applause. Grant stood, buttoned his jacket, and walked toward the stage with a smile that could have melted stone. He shook hands with the governor, accepted the crystal trophy, stepped behind the microphone while 400 people stared up at him with admiration. "Thank you," he began. "This is truly an honor." The ballroom doors exploded inward, not literally, but close. Roman Castell entered flanked by 6 armed people, all dressed in black tactical gear, all moving with lethal precision. The room went silent. Grant's smile faltered. Roman walked straight down the center aisle while guests scattered like leaves. Blood stained his bandaged head. His suit was torn. He moved like something dead that had forgotten to stop walking, and his eyes, cold, empty, absolutely focused, never left Grant's face. "Roman Castell," Grant said into the microphone, recovering quickly. "What a surprise. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is wanted by the police for—" "I know where Evelina is," Roman interrupted, his voice carrying through the silent ballroom like a death sentence. Grant's expression flickered. "I don't know what you're—" "Brookhaven Psychiatric Hospital, private wing, illegally committed under forged psychiatric evaluations." Roman kept walking, kept coming, unstoppable. "You tied her to a gurney and locked her away because she dared to leave you. That's absurd." "Is it?" Roman reached the stage. "Then call them, right now. Prove she's not there." Grant's hand tightened on the microphone. "I don't have to prove anything to you." "No, you have to prove it to them." Roman gestured at the silent crowd. 400 witnesses. Call Brookhaven. Ask if Evelina Voss is currently a patient. Let's see what they say. Grant's jaw clenched. He couldn't call. Because if he did, they'd confirm Evelina was there, confirm everything Roman was saying. But if he refused, everyone would know he was hiding something. He was trapped, and he knew it. "Security!" Grant shouted. "Remove this man!" "I have evidence." Roman pulled out a USB drive. Bank records, victim files, everything. And unless Evelina walks out of Brookhaven in the next 60 seconds, I'm uploading it to every media outlet in the country. That's blackmail. No, it's justice. Roman's voice dropped to something lethal. You have 1 minute, Grant. Release her, or watch your world burn. Grant stared at him. The ballroom held its breath. Then Grant smiled. You're bluffing, he said quietly into the microphone. You have nothing, no evidence, no proof, just accusations from a criminal trying to destroy a decent man. Am I? Roman pulled out his phone, showed the screen to the crowd. Security footage from Brookhaven played on the display. Evelina, strapped to a bed, restrained, unconscious. The timestamp read 30 minutes ago. The room exploded, gasps, shouting, cameras flashing, reporters rushing forward. Grant went pale. That's not what it looks like. Then what is it? Roman's voice cut through the chaos. Explain to everyone here why your fiancée is currently being held against her will in a psychiatric facility. Grant's mouth opened, closed. Nothing came out, because there was no explanation that didn't damn him. Roman pocketed his phone. Release her, now, or I upload everything and you spend the rest of your life in a cell. Grant's hand shook on the microphone. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed. This is Grant Holloway, he said quietly. I need you to release Evelina Voss from the private wing, immediately. He listened for a moment, then his face went white as ash. What do you mean she's not there? Roman's stomach dropped. Grant looked up, eyes wide with something that might have been genuine panic. She's gone. Someone took her 20 minutes ago. The ballroom erupted into chaos, and Roman realized with horrible clarity that they'd all been playing the wrong game, because Grant didn't have Evelina anymore. Someone else did. The ballroom descended into pandemonium. Reporters surged toward the stage. Camera flashes exploded like gunfire. Security guards rushed forward trying to contain the chaos, while Grant stood frozen behind the microphone, his face a mask of dawning horror. Roman grabbed Grant by the collar and hauled him off the stage. Who took her? Roman's voice was deadly quiet beneath the screaming crowd. I don't know. Roman slammed him against the wall hard enough that Grant's head bounced off marble. Wrong answer. I swear I don't know. Grant's composure finally shattered. I had her committed. She was supposed to stay there until I decided otherwise. Someone must have... He stopped. His eyes went wide. What? Roman shook him. Someone must have what? The other women. Grant's voice dropped to a whisper. The ones I placed in new identities. They knew about Brookhaven. I used the facility before to... To what? Grant swallowed. To disappear people who asked too many questions. Roman's grip tightened until Grant choked. How many? 3? Maybe 4? I don't... He gasped for air. Please. Roman released him. Grant collapsed against the wall, wheezing. Cade appeared at Roman's shoulder. We need to move. A PD is 2 minutes out. Not without Evelina. Then we find whoever has her. Fast. Cade pulled out her tablet, fingers flying across the screen. If it's one of Grant's controlled victims, they'll need somewhere secure to hold her. Somewhere off the grid. Grant straightened, rubbing his throat. There's a property, rural, 90 miles outside the city. I used it for... He stopped. It's where I kept Naomi before you took her. Roman's blood went cold. The same property? Yes. Then that's where they took Evelina. Roman turned to Cade. How fast can we get there? 40 minutes if we push it. But Roman... Cade's expression was grim. If they wanted her dead, she'd already be dead. They're keeping her alive for a reason. What reason? Leverage. Cade met his eyes. Against you. The property sat at the end of a dirt road surrounded by pine trees and darkness. Roman's vehicle rolled to a stop half a mile away, headlights off, engine silent. 6 people emerged from 2 SUVs, Roman, Cade, and 4 others, all armed, all moving with the coordinated precision of soldiers entering a war zone. The house ahead was dark, except for a single light in the basement. Roman's jaw clenched. The same basement where they'd found Naomi 3 weeks ago. History repeating itself like a curse. They approached on foot, weapons up, scanning for sentries. The property was quiet. Too quiet. No guards, no security cameras, just the house sitting in the darkness like a tomb. Cade signaled. 2 of her people peeled off to cover the exits. The rest followed Roman toward the front door. It was unlocked. Roman pushed it open slowly. Hinges creaked. Inside, the house was exactly as they'd left it. Furniture covered in dust, walls bare, the air thick with abandonment, except for footprints in the dust. Fresh ones, leading toward the basement stairs. Roman moved first, descending into the darkness with his gun raised and his heart hammering against his cracked ribs. Each step felt like walking into his own grave. The basement door stood open. Light spilled out from inside. Roman stepped through and froze. Evelina sat in a metal chair in the center of the room, wrists zip-tied behind her back, a gag in her mouth. Alive. Conscious. Terrified. But not alone. A woman stood behind her with a gun pressed to Evelina's temple. Rebecca Walsh. The blonde from the footage. One of Grant's supposedly dead victims. "Hello, Roman," Rebecca said calmly. "I was wondering when you'd get here." Roman's weapon stayed level, aimed at Rebecca's head. "Let her go." "I don't think so." Rebecca's finger tightened on the trigger. "We have things to discuss first." Behind Roman, Cade and the others fanned out, surrounding the room. Every weapon pointed at Rebecca. She didn't flinch. "Tell them to lower their guns," Rebecca said, "or I paint the walls with her brain." Roman raised his free hand. His team lowered their weapons but didn't holster them. "Good." Rebecca smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "Now we can talk like civilized people." "What do you want?" Roman asked. "Justice." Rebecca's voice went cold. "Grant Holloway destroyed my life. Sold me to my abuser. Faked my death and rebuilt me into his puppet. And you," she stared at Roman, "you were supposed to destroy him. Instead, you just exposed him, left him alive to lawyer his way out of everything. He's finished. His reputation means nothing." Rebecca cut him off. "Rich men don't go to prison, Roman. You know that. Grant will hire expensive lawyers. Claim mental illness. Blame his victims. And in 5 years, he'll be free and doing it all over again." "Then what do you want me to do?" "Nothing." Rebecca pressed the gun harder against Evelina's head. Evelina whimpered behind the gag. "I'm going to kill her. Then I'm going to kill Grant. Then myself. And everyone will finally understand what he did to us." "That's not justice." "Yes, it is." Tears streamed down Rebecca's face. "You don't get it. None of you get it. We're already dead. Grant killed us years ago. We're just waiting for our bodies to catch up." "Rebecca. My name isn't Rebecca anymore." She screamed it, raw and broken. "That woman died the day Grant sold her back to the man who beat her unconscious and left her for dead. What's left is just pieces. And I'm tired of pretending those pieces still fit together." Evelina's eyes met Roman's, wide, desperate, begging. Roman's finger tightened on his trigger. One shot, clean. He could drop Rebecca before she pulled her own trigger. Probably. Maybe. The margin of error was too thin. If he missed by an inch, Evelina died. "Let her go," Roman said quietly. "Whatever you're planning, whatever message you're trying to send, it doesn't require killing an innocent woman." "She's not innocent." Rebecca's voice dropped to something hollow. "She was with Grant for a year. She knows what kind of monster he is, and she's still breathing while the rest of us are ghosts. She survived him, just like you did." "No." Rebecca shook her head. "I didn't survive. I just haven't stopped moving yet." Then she shifted the gun away from Evelina's head, pointed it at Roman instead. "But you I'm going to kill. Because you gave me hope. You made me believe someone was finally going to make Grant pay. And then you wasted it. Used all that evidence just to humiliate him at a party." She laughed bitterly. "You're just like him. Just another powerful man playing games with broken women." Roman kept his weapon steady. "I'm nothing like Grant Holloway." "Prove it." Rebecca's finger moved to the trigger. Kill him, right now. Put a bullet in his head and prove that you actually care about justice. He's not here. Then bring him here. Her voice hardened. You have 1 hour. Bring Grant Holloway to this basement, or I start shooting, and I promise you, I won't miss. I'm done. Roman stood in the dirt driveway with his phone pressed to his ear while Cade coordinated with their people inside the house. Grant answered on the third ring. Roman, I assume you found her. I did, and you're going to come here. Alone. Unarmed. Silence. Then Grant laughed. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, Rebecca Walsh is going to execute Evelina in exactly, Roman checked his watch, 56 minutes. The laughter died. Rebecca's dead. No, she's not. And she blames you for destroying her life. Now she wants you to pay for it in person. This is a trap. Yes, it is. But you're going to walk into it anyway. Roman's voice went cold. Because if Evelina dies, I'm uploading every piece of evidence we have to every media outlet in the country. Bank records, victim files, everything. Your lawyers won't be able to bury it fast enough. Grant was quiet for a long moment. If I come, he said finally, what happens to me? I don't know. That's between you and Rebecca. She'll kill me. Probably. And you're fine with that? Roman thought about Elena, about Naomi, about the 11 women whose lives Grant had destroyed for profit. Yes, he said. I'm fine with that. Another pause. All right, Grant said. Send me the address. I'll be there in 45 minutes. The line went dead. Roman pocketed his phone and turned to Cade. He's coming, Roman said. Good. Cade checked her weapon. Because I was running out of ways to keep Rebecca from shooting everyone in that basement. How's Evelina? Terrified, but alive. Cade's expression softened slightly. She asked about you. Something in Roman's chest tightened. What did you tell her? That you're an idiot who's probably going to get himself killed trying to save her. Accurate. They returned to the basement. Rebecca hadn't moved, still stood behind Evelina with the gun steady, eyes red-rimmed but focused. He's coming, Roman told her. Rebecca nodded once. Good. What happens after? Roman asked. After what? After Grant gets here. After you've confronted him. What's your endgame? Rebecca's expression went distant. I haven't thought that far ahead. Then think now, because this can end one of two ways. You kill him and probably get killed yourself, or you let us take him into custody and testify against him, put him in prison for the rest of his life. Prison isn't enough. It's something. Roman stepped closer. And it keeps you alive. Gives the other women a chance to come forward, to finally be heard. They won't. They're too broken. So are you. And yet here you are, fighting. Roman's voice gentled. Don't throw that away for revenge. Grant's not worth your life. Rebecca stared at him for a long moment. Then she looked down at Evelina. What do you think? Evelina couldn't answer with the gag in her mouth. Rebecca pulled it free. Evelina gasped, worked her jaw, then met Rebecca's eyes. I think killing Grant makes you just like him, and I think you deserve better than becoming the monster he turned you into. Tears spilled down Rebecca's cheeks. I don't know how to be anything else anymore. Neither did I. Evelina's voice was steady despite her shaking hands. But I'm learning. And if I can survive him, so can you. Rebecca's gun hand wavered. For a moment, Roman thought she might lower the weapon. Then headlights swept across the windows. A car door slammed. Grant had arrived. What? Grant Holloway walked into the basement looking smaller than Roman remembered. His suit was rumpled, his hair disheveled, blood still crusted the cut above his eyebrow. He moved like a man walking to his own execution because that's exactly what he was doing. He stopped in the doorway and stared at Rebecca. Hello, Grant, she said quietly. Grant's throat worked. Rebecca, Don't. She raised the gun. Don't say my name. Don't apologize. Don't try to explain. Just stand there and listen. Grant nodded mutely. You sold me, Rebecca continued, voice shaking. You took $50,000 from the man who beat me so badly I couldn't walk for a month. And then you sabotaged my restraining order so he could do it again. I never meant... You meant every word, every action, Every betrayal. Rebecca's finger tightened on the trigger. You looked me in the eye and promised to protect me. And then you fed me to a monster. I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. She gestured at Evelina. You would have done the same thing to her. Already started, didn't you? The fake psychiatric evaluations. The commitment papers. You were building her cage even while you were beating her. Grant's gaze dropped to the floor. Look at me, Rebecca commanded. He did. I want you to know something, she said. Every night for the last 8 months, I've dreamed about this moment, about putting a bullet in your head and watching everything you are drain out onto the floor. It's the only thing that kept me breathing. Grant stood frozen. But she's right. Rebecca glanced at Evelina. Killing you makes me like you, and I spent too many years being your puppet to become your echo. She lowered the gun. Roman's entire body relaxed slightly. Then Rebecca raised it again, pointed it at her own temple. No! Evelina screamed. Roman lunged forward. Rebecca pulled the trigger. Click. Empty chamber. Rebecca stared at the gun, then started laughing, high broken sounds that echoed off concrete walls. I couldn't even do that right, she choked out between sobs. Roman carefully took the weapon from her shaking hands. Rebecca collapsed to her knees, shoulders heaving, finally letting herself break after years of holding together pieces that no longer fit. Cade moved forward and cut Evelina's restraints. Evelina stumbled toward Rebecca, dropped down beside her, and pulled the other woman into her arms while they both cried, 2 survivors holding each other in the basement that had tried to bury them both. Roman turned to Grant. Grant stared at the 2 women with an expression Roman couldn't read. Regret, maybe, or just the realization that his empire had finally crumbled. It's over, Roman said quietly. Grant looked at him. What happens now? Now? Roman pulled out his phone, showed Grant the screen. I've been recording this entire conversation. Rebecca's testimony. Your presence here, all of it. Grant went pale. That's not admissible. Don't care. It's enough to destroy whatever's left of your reputation. And combined with everything else we have, the bank records, the victim files, witness statements, you'll spend the rest of your life in court defending yourself. Roman pocketed the phone. You won't win. You won't walk away. You'll just slowly, publicly, agonizingly lose everything you ever built. You can't. I already did. Roman stepped closer. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to confess. Every sabotaged case, every destroyed woman, every dollar you took, all of it. And then you're going to help us find the other victims you've been controlling, give them their lives back. And if I refuse, then I let Rebecca have another gun, one with bullets this time. Grant stared at him for a long moment. Then his shoulders sagged. All right. Good choice. Roman nodded to Cade. She pulled out zip ties and secured Grant's hands behind his back. One more thing, Roman said. The commitment order on Evelina. You're going to rescind it, tonight, and then you're going to sign a legal document stating you falsified the psychiatric evaluations. Grant's jaw clenched. That'll destroy any chance I have at a defense. Yes, it will. Roman's voice went cold. But it'll save Evelina from spending years fighting to prove her sanity. And right now, her freedom matters more than your survival. For a moment, Grant looked like he might argue. Then he looked at Evelina, still holding Rebecca, both women shaking but breathing, alive despite everything he'd done to destroy them. And something in his expression finally broke. Okay, he whispered. The paperwork took 3 hours. Grant signed everything, confessed everything, named names, provided account numbers, gave up every victim still trapped in false identities and every location he'd used to hide them. By dawn, APD had arrested him and 5 other people connected to his operation. By noon, the media had exploded. Every news outlet carried the story. Grant Holloway, celebrated attorney, supposed advocate, absolute monster, had systematically destroyed vulnerable women for profit. The evidence was overwhelming, irrefutable, damning. His law firm dissolved within a week. Every billboard bearing his face disappeared within days. Former allies scrambled to distance themselves, and the women, all 11 of them, plus Rebecca, began the long, painful process of reclaiming their stolen lives. 6 months later, Evelina stood in front of a restored brick building in Atlanta's Old Fourth Ward. The sign above the door read, "The Naomi Mercer Advocacy Foundation." Inside, the offices hummed with activity. Caseworkers, lawyers, survivors who'd found their way here because someone finally believed them. Naomi herself ran the intake department. Her children came by after school most days. She'd regained custody, rebuilt her life, started breathing again. Rebecca worked in the legal division. Still fragile, still healing, but present, fighting. The other women came and went, some staying, some just visiting, all finding their own paths back to themselves. Evelina walked through the building, checking on programs, talking to staff, making sure every woman who walked through their doors knew that this time someone was listening. When she finally returned to her office, Roman was waiting. He'd withdrawn from most of his criminal operations over the past months, redirected his money into survivor housing, protection programs, legal defense funds, still dangerous, still connected, but using that danger differently now. "You look tired," Roman said. "I am tired." Evelina dropped into her chair. "Good tired, though." "The hearing's tomorrow." She nodded. Grant's trial had dragged on for months. Tomorrow was sentencing. The prosecution had recommended 25 years. "Will you be there?" Evelina asked. "Do you want me there?" She thought about it. "No, I think I need to do this part alone." Roman's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. "Understood." Evelina stood, crossed the space between them. "But after it's over, I want you there. If that's something you still want." "It's all I've wanted since I cut you free in that garage." She kissed him then. Slow, certain. A choice made without fear or desperation. Just two broken people who'd survived their separate hells and found something like peace in each other's presence. When they pulled apart, Roman brushed his thumb across her cheekbone. "You stopped flinching." "I know." "When?" Evelina thought back. To the first night at Roman's estate when he'd covered her shoulders with a blanket and walked away. To Rebecca, sobbing in that basement. To the moment she'd realized she could choose who she became after surviving instead of letting Grant's violence define her forever. "The night I held Rebecca," she said finally, "I stopped being afraid and started being angry. And the anger, it burned through everything else until all that was left was me. Just me. Not Grant's victim, not a survivor struggling to stay whole. Just Evelina." "And who's that?" Roman asked softly. She smiled. "Still figuring it out. But I know she's not the woman from that garage anymore." "No." Roman's hand dropped to hers. "She's better." Mpachum. The courtroom was packed the next afternoon. Evelina sat in the front row flanked by Naomi and Rebecca. Behind them, the other victims filled the gallery. Women who'd finally found their voices and refused to be silenced. Grant sat at the defense table looking smaller every day. His expensive lawyers had done their best. Argued diminished capacity, claimed mental illness, blamed childhood trauma. The jury hadn't bought it. Guilty on all counts. Now the judge prepared to deliver sentencing. "Grant Holloway," the judge began, her voice sharp as broken glass, "you abused your position of trust to prey on the most vulnerable members of our community. You perverted the justice system, you destroyed lives for profit, and you showed no remorse until you were caught." Grant stared at his hands. "This court sentences you to 30 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole for the first 15 years. The courtroom erupted. Evelina sat very still while chaos swirled around her. 30 years. Grant would be 70 before he saw freedom again. By then, everyone he'd hurt would have rebuilt their lives beyond his reach. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. Grant stood to be led away. For just a moment, his eyes met Evelina's across the courtroom. She stared back without expression, without fear, without anything except the cold certainty that she'd survived him, and he would rot away in a cell while she built something better from the ruins he'd left behind. Then the guards took him away, and Evelina finally exhaled a breath she'd been holding for almost 2 years. Beside her, Naomi squeezed her hand. "It's over." "No," Evelina said quietly. "It's just starting." 1 year later, Evelina stood by the window of her new apartment watching a thunderstorm roll across Atlanta's skyline. Rain hammered the glass. Lightning split the darkness. Thunder shook the building's bones. Months ago, storms made her flinch. Every loud sound was Grant coming. Every shadow held violence. Every moment of peace felt temporary. Now she just watched the rain. The door opened behind her. Roman entered carrying takeout and groceries, rain-soaked and grumbling about traffic. "You're staring at the storm again," he said. "I know." "Checking to see if you'll flinch." "No, just remembering that I don't anymore." Roman set down his bags. Crossed to stand behind her. Didn't touch. Never pushed for closeness she hadn't offered first. Just stood there until she leaned back against him. His arms came around her carefully. Always carefully. Like she was something precious that might break if handled wrong. But Evelina wasn't breaking anymore. She'd spent too long putting herself back together to shatter now. "The prosecutor called," she said. "Grant's appealing the sentence." "He'll lose." "I know, but it means more hearings, more testimony, more time spent in courtrooms reliving everything." "You don't have to testify again. You've already given them everything they need." "It's not about what they need." Evelina turned in his arms to face him. "It's about making sure he never stops paying, never gets comfortable in that cell, never forgets that we're out here living full lives while he rots." Something dark flickered across Roman's expression. "That's a long game." "I have time," she smiled slightly, "and I'm patient. Remind me never to cross you." "Too late. You already saved my life. Now you're stuck with me." Roman's hand came up to cup her face. "I can live with that." They stood there while thunder rolled and rain painted the windows. Two people who'd survived their separate wars and found something like home in each other's damage. It wasn't perfect. Evelina still woke sometimes with her heart racing and Grant's voice in her ears. Still had days where leaving the apartment felt impossible. Still carried scars that would never fully fade. But she also had the foundation. Had survivors who needed her. Had Rebecca and Naomi and 10 other women who'd clawed their way back to themselves and refused to disappear. Had Roman, who'd cut her free and never once tried to own what survived. And she had herself. The woman who'd hung from that column bleeding and broken, that woman was gone. What remained was colder, harder, less willing to forgive and more willing to fight. Evelina Voss would never be who she was before Grant Holloway. But she was building something better from the pieces he'd shattered. Outside, lightning split the sky. Thunder followed like applause. And Evelina stood in the eye of the storm, breathing deeply, finally, truly free. Not because Grant was locked away, or because Roman protected her, or because time had healed her wounds, but because she'd learned something Grant could never touch. The difference between surviving and living was choosing who you became after the violence stopped. And Evelina had made her choice. She would live. She would fight. She would help every woman who walked through her door find the same fierce, fragile, furious will to exist beyond their breaking points. And Grant Holloway would fade into nothing but a name on a conviction record while the women he'd tried to destroy built empires from his ashes. That was justice. Slow, patient, absolute. Roman pressed a kiss to her temple. "What are you thinking?" Evelina looked at their reflection in the rain-streaked glass, two figures outlined by lightning, standing together in the darkness, and smiled. "That I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Outside, the storm raged on. Inside, Evelina Voss stood unbroken and breathed.